Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Iconic Dollcast. My name is Sage, your host. Welcome back to another episode all about dolls. Thank you so much for listening and happy summer, everyone. This week, I'm going to be chatting with Steve, who runs the Instagram account Welcome to the Dollhouse, and Steve has some amazing Barbie photography, and you must check it out. And I'm so excited to talk to him about photography. We talk about our doll journeys, of course. We also talk about the greatness of content creating that is sometimes very, very stressful, and so much more. Very excited for this one. Before we jump into it, I do want to let you guys know some, I hope, exciting news. I said it on my last doll check-in episode, but I'm just going to say it again here. So generally for the podcast, I take the month of August off, and somehow I have so much content and interviews for this season of the Iconic Dollcast that I'm actually going to extend my summer session, and we're going to run through August and then do a few things the first few weeks of September, take the rest of September off, and then come back with all new episodes in October. So I'm really excited for that. I hope you guys are excited for that. I just want to say thank you guys, and thank you to all of my guests who have been on the show. I started interviewing people for this season in January. So I just didn't, I guess when I was doing all my interviews, I wasn't keeping track of dates and how many episodes I needed, and I have a bunch. So we're going to continue through August this year, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much for listening and giving me all the wonderful feedback. Again, I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer. I know I am. It's off to a great start, but we're going to jump right into the interview. As always, please follow me on Instagram at iconicdollcast or Britney Spears Custom Dolls. You can follow me on TikTok at Britney Spears Dolls. And here is my interview with Steve, Instagram's Welcome to the Dollhouse, all about our doll journeys and doll photography and so much more. All right. Today I have Steve on the show, and Steve is a Barbie fan and photographer who runs the Instagram account Welcome to the Dollhouse. And today we are going to talk all about his doll journey, Barbie, and doll photography. So Steve, thanks so much for being on the show this week. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I love your account, so I'm really excited to chat with you today. So we're going to start at the beginning. Like, where did your journey with Barbie begin?
Probably way, way back when I was a child. I remember I actually had Barbies when I was a kid, but the first one I remember having was I had a roller skating Barbie and a Western Ken. I don't know where they came from or who gave them to me, but I specifically remember having them as a child. I don't know where they ended up, but as a very small child before my sister was born, we're 4 years apart, I had those two dolls. And that's kind of where the journey, I think, began. And then when I was growing up, before my sister was born, I had a lot of, all the children in the neighborhood that I would hang out with were girls. And so they all had Barbies. And so I always played with all of them and their dolls and stuff. And so that's where kind of the whole love for Barbie came from.
Very nice. And so was it a big deal at all to your parents that you played with dolls as a young boy?
It kind of like I was allowed to, but it was kind of like I would get teased about it every so often by them. Like, why are you still playing with dolls? Or like, why are you playing with that? You know? So it was kind of like I wasn't not allowed to, but I wasn't like encouraged to really. And I was teased about it a little bit. So it was a little weird, but I still like, you know, my sister was the one that had all the Barbies, like when we were growing up, and I would play with hers and we would do stuff together. And I remember like when we were kids and there was like a birthday or it was Christmas time, I would always like tell her like, oh, you should get that one. Like, she's really pretty. And like, my mom like overheard me once and was like, stop telling her what to get, you know? Yeah. But I mean, they think it's cool now that I, have my own collection and, I take pictures and stuff like that. So
you kind of got both sides of the spectrum is what I call it, because sometimes people, I think most of the times when I'm talking to men, they were either definitely allowed to play with Barbies or totally not allowed to play with Barbies. So you're kind of
Right.
right in the middle. Like you were allowed to play with them, but it was a little bit like, hmm.
Yeah, we wish we would play with something else, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. And when would you say you really started collecting Barbies?
I probably started collecting Barbies about like officially collecting probably about like a little more than 20 years ago. I've had dolls my entire life. Like I have whatever was left over from my childhood. I took all of my sister's dolls as she didn't want anything when she got older, and I kind of took everything. And so whatever survived, I still have. So there's that. And then I had dolls all throughout different stages of my life. In college, I was buying Barbies too, and like having them like in my dorm room, and I would dress them up and stuff like that. But I think officially collecting was probably like a little over 20 years ago. When I met my partner, he bought me the first vintage Ken that I ever had. That kind of started the whole like collecting phase of my collection, I guess.
Okay. And when it comes to Barbie, is there like a certain Barbie era that you really resonate with?
Yeah, I think I love a little. I collect everything. Like I collect dolls from every single Barbie era there is, and I really respond to the superstar era mostly, like the 70s to the early 80s, and I have dolls from every single era, but that's the era that's the most special to me, and that's I guess that's the one that resonates with me most.
Why does Barbie speak to you so much? Like, what's so special about Barbie to you?
I guess it's she was always just so beautiful, and I always loved like the fashion, and especially the earlier Barbies. Like she always had like a change around outfit that you could transform into something different, and she was just always so beautiful, and I was just enamored by her and all of her friends and her many careers and all her vehicles and homes and like all the fun stuff that you could play with, you know.
Of
So
course, of course. I mean, we all talk about how many hours we spend playing with our Barbies, even as adults. Like,
yeah.
it's the best. As an adult, do you do you have a big Barbie collection? Like, how many Barbies do you have?
I have no idea how many I have.
No one does.
It's yeah, I've never counted, and I don't think I have 1,000. I think I have less than that, probably a few hundred. I do have a room in my house that's half filled with dolls and real estate and clothing and all that kind of stuff. It's not in any kind of order that I would want to like show anybody because it's just like it's everywhere. My dream one day would be to have a room that, you know, has shelves lining the wall and everything's like organized and beautiful. But I'm not at that stage yet. But I have no idea how many specifically I have, but it's definitely a few hundred. It's definitely a few hundred.
Amazing. And as an adult, like, do you ever feel like do you openly talk about your Barbie collection with like your friends and people that you're meeting, people at work? Do you ever is that something you're very open about?
It's definitely with my friends and my family. I mean, I don't really talk about it. I haven't talked about it at work with anybody. I kind of keep that part of my life separate from my personal life. But most of my friends know about it. Probably all of my friends know about it, and they follow me on Instagram, and they love the photos that I do and stuff like that. So I get a lot of like encouragement from them and from my family, from my partner too. So it's fun.
That's great. You never know. I just feel like as an adult, like I would say the same. My friends all follow me on Instagram. They all know what I'm up to, but whenever I'm with like a group of friends and like I'm meeting friends of friends of friends, like that's kind of how they introduce me, which I'm totally
Oh,
fine with.
really?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
because I mean, I think especially like with the Britney Spears custom dolls, like that's such a major part of my life. Like I'm not like ashamed of it or anything, but it's always kind of like I never really know how people are going to react to it. And like most of the
Yeah.
time it's like let me see, this is incredible. Oh my God. But like I still always am like, ooh,
Yeah.
okay, I guess if we're leading
Yeah.
with this, let's just jump on into it. And I do feel like, especially now, I feel like a lot more adults are collecting like toys and dolls. So it's a little less maybe quote unquote strange than it would have been like maybe like 10, 15 years ago. And
Yeah.
like I said, most of the time they're really into it. But I always like to ask that question because as adults, I feel like we notice things like judgment or like when people are kind of maybe weirded out by things a lot more than we
Mhm.
would as if we were kids. And so that's great that your friends are all supportive of it. And I was just curious because you never know. Sometimes people are like, yeah, people people can get pretty crazy when they're like, what do you mean you collect Barbies, you know?
What are you doing? What are you
Hmm.
spending all this money on?
Right. I'm like, well, yeah, but what are you spending all your money on?
Yeah,
That's,
right.
you know, I,
Exactly.
I always twist it around on people who like,
Hmm.
who maybe I feel don't quite understand it. And that's fine. Like, it's not my
Yeah.
job to make someone understand what I do, but I do like to
Right.
turn things on people and kind of question what they're into and see how they react to that. And then I think they
Yeah.
pretty instantly are like, oh, okay, you're right. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You know?
All the people that I've been introduced to that don't know anything about, what I've done or what I'm doing, they're kind of like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. I've never really had anybody be weirded out by it or anything like that, which is kind of nice. So
That's good. I think with Barbie, like it's totally cool. And like I collect a lot of like action figures. I think I also collect American Girl dolls.
oh
Um,
yeah, I've seen your American Girl.
it's so funny.
I don't know anything about American Girl except for like the very first American Girl dolls that you had to order by catalog. And
Mhm.
like only the rich girls, like little girls, had like American Girl dolls because they were really expensive and like you can only get them from a catalog, and it was a very special sort of thing. So those are the only thing that I remember about American Girl
That's
doll.
okay. That's the only American Girls that I care about, and I was a spoiled little brat. So, um, I think that when people are like looking at my collection, the only thing that they seem to get a little bit like taken aback by is oddly the American Girl dolls. And I think it's because they're like a bigger doll. So like they
Right.
come with a more creepy stigma because of like Chucky and shit.
Hmm.
But that's really the only time I've ever brought someone into my doll room where they've been like, oh, what are those? And I'm like, "Ah, those are the American Girls, you know?" But most of the times it's great. So you have an incredible doll Instagram. I think people call it a dollstagram. That's hard for me
Yep.
to say, but you do a
A
lot.
dollstagram.
A dollstagram. You do a lot of Barbie photography, and it's really, really good work. And so I want to know
Thank
how
you.
you got into that.
So I always wanted to take pictures of dolls. Like even when I was in high school, I went to art school and like all that stuff. And when I was in high school, I think was when I took the first pictures ever of like dolls, like just like black and white photos of dolls, just like kind of set up. And then like I didn't do it for years and years and years. And then um I can't even remember when I fell into like finding doll photography on the computer, like on just like searching through Google. I was probably looking on eBay for like some kind of doll or some outfit or something. And somehow I came across like a Flickr page that had somebody's photography on it. I never had a Flickr account or anything like that, but I somehow stumbled upon it and was like, what the hell is this? And I kept going like down a rabbit hole of like all this doll photography. And I was like, this is fucking cool. Like, I wish I could do something like this, you know? And so it was always kind of in the back of my brain, but I never really did anything with it. And at the time I was still collecting and always had the idea in the back of my brain, but just never like executed it. And then during the pandemic, my partner and I were talking about it one day, and he was like, you should just do an Instagram account. And he had just made an Instagram account like, you know, a short time before that. And he's like, you should just take pictures and do an Instagram account. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that. And so I took a couple pictures. I started an Instagram account, and then nothing really happened. Like I just kept taking pictures and I guess learning how to use like Instagram and posting a few things. And I didn't know anything about hashtagging or anything like that. And then I guess people started liking the photos. So then I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And then I started meeting people and started like talking to people and started like conversations with, different people from all over the world. And like, then I started seeing their stuff and like getting inspired. And so that's kind of where it started. Like, it'll be 5 years in September. So right at the end of the pandemic, like I was back to work, and then I was just kind of messing around one day, and then that's how it started. So
Amazing. So that's like pretty much my story as well. I like
oh really?
I like started making these custom Britney Spears dolls just for fun, just for myself. This was in like 2017, I think. And I was showing them to my friend Andrea, and she was like, "Oh, you know what? Like we call each other Trish. It's a Spice Girls reference." She was like, "Trish, we're both Trish. Trish, you need to start an Instagram account because people will eat this up." And I was like, I mean, I had Instagram and for my personal life and whatever. And I was like, "What? Are you sure?" Like, I really was like, I don't think people will care, but I did it, and it was instant, like just instant followers. Like
Yeah.
people started asking me to make them for them. And then that's also when I was like, whoa, like, holy shit, there's like an entire world of these doll collectors and Barbie collectors and photographers and customizers. And I had no idea I knew about Flickr. I think I was on there for a really long time because it all started with me rerouting these really old share dolls. And I
Hmm.
had posted some on there, but I just kind of forgot about it. And then got onto Instagram and all this
Yeah.
started taking off, and I realized, holy shit, like there's a whole world of people that are just like me out there, and I had no idea. And then, I started custom orders, and then it's been nonstop. I don't think I've ever gone a single I think the most I've ever gone is like 2 or 3 days that I haven't been working on a Britney Spears doll, which is
Oh
great.
wow. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just been nonstop ever since. And it's just like crazy to me how like social media can really like I wouldn't say it like fully changed my life or anything, but it's definitely a nice little side hustle hobby to have.
Yeah.
And then I kind of from there was like, well, I don't always want to be like talking about Britney Spears. Like I love her. She's the best. She's the
Hmm.
bomb.com. But like I'm also into like Barbie and American Girl and Spice Girls and whatever. And that's kind
Yeah.
of how this podcast all came together, just by chance, really.
It's so cool to like I had no idea there was this many people in the world that share the same love and share the same, you know, ideas that I shared like my whole life. So to find those people and to connect with them is really cool. And it's been like an amazing journey since from the beginning till to now. So
Yeah, and like you
yeah.
said, it's so fun to know. I mean, I've shipped dolls all over the world. I have like internet friendships all over the world. I'll go to
Right.
the doll shows, and it's so cool when people will come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, are you the Britney Spears guy?" And I'm like, "I guess so." But yeah, it's really cool. And so, like, was photography something you were always interested in?
Yes. So
Okay.
I dabbled in photography like in high school and then throughout college. And some of my work that I did in college was I used to do printmaking in college. I studied fine art. And photography was a big part of my work then. So I always had a love for photography. And then when I started photographing dolls, like if you go way back in my Instagram, you'll see like the earlier work up to what it looks like now. Like it's grown a whole lot. And like I've kind of had this whole artistic creative thing inside me my whole life. And after graduating college, I went in like a different direction and kind of left that whole creative side, to the side. And then years later, it kind of emerged through Barbie, and she kind of brought it out of me into all these, photography and like customizations that I do and stuff like that. So yeah.
I have to tell you, I've had a few people on here who do a lot of doll photography, and I always tell them it's actually one of my least favorite things to do because I'm so particular about how things look. I don't like to do
Yeah.
a lot of editing because then, I mean, obviously, I have a product that I'm trying to trying to sell. Like, I can't do a whole ton of editing, and photography is so just difficult for me. I think just because I want to get it perfect. So,
Yeah.
like, what are like to you, like, what are the most stressful things or most difficult things about doll photography? Because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy at all. And sometimes I'll spend hours like on one photo, you know what I mean? Like in the beginning, I was just like messing around and I was just like taking a picture, dressing a doll and like, being silly. But like then it sort of like took a right turn and became this whole other like more artistic thing. And so I started to get more into like into lighting and composition and the fashion and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of what I do is on the fly too. It's not something that I've really thought that much about. It's kind of like just responding to something I saw that day or something that I read in a magazine or something I saw on the internet. Or I have a Pinterest page that has like tons and tons of like art and fashion and like photographs and stuff like that. So I look at that a lot and get inspired. The thing that takes the longest, I guess, is just, you know, getting the pose right and trying to get her to stand up, or like figuring out like what angle you want to shoot this from. Or I have this little setup. I do all my pictures in my foyer in my condo, and I have this little table set up with a platform on it, and I kind of like sit on the floor and I have my lights, and I just kind of like mess around with how I want the shot to look or how I want her to be posed. Or sometimes I'll figure out the pose like before I set it up, and then I'll try to figure out like what's the best angle to shoot this at. So it's a lot of trial and error, and it's a lot of like dolls falling over and like getting like irritated that they're falling over, and then the hair is in the face, and then, you know, it's just it's very detailed, and it's a lot of like trial and error. But yeah, when you get a great photo,
Then you're good to go, right?
then you're good to go, and it makes the world a better place.
Yeah, I feel, I mean, fortunately, mostly when I'm taking photos of dolls, it's just the one Britney Spears doll. So I know this doll's angles, and I know what light is going to capture her. And fortunately, it's very easy. Like, all I need is one light on her face and it works. The Britney Spears doll photographs really well, but that is not the case with other dolls. Like I found with the Spice Girls, it's really hard to get them all. There's 5 of them, right? So having to get them all at a good angle is very difficult. And I find that a lot of dolls don't photograph well, and that must be super frustrating, because we'll have one Barbie and she looks fucking amazing when you take her picture, but then you bring in another one and it's like, I don't know how to make this work.
Yeah. The group shot is definitely like the most difficult, I would say, out of anything that I've photographed. I struggle the most with group photos, and those are usually the ones that take me the longest, and it's usually the ones that I dread doing, but I feel like I have to do it just to like diversify myself, so that it's like, you know, I'm showing some different things than just one doll all the time. But I really love a portrait, and I love like a single doll shot. But I find like spending time after I get the doll dressed or whatever, spending time with her or him or whoever it is, and just kind of like looking over and finding like, because like you said, they're all different and they all photograph differently. So what angle is the best angle for that specific doll? And then when you find that, that's when, you know, you can get a really great photo.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot just like playing around and like watching other people do like stuff on YouTube, and like, you know, just all different places that I've seen people do like tips and tricks for like, you know, making the hair stay down, or like standing them up with sticks, or like you know, just different things that I've learned just by watching other people. So
it is really amazing what you can find out on the internet. I wouldn't say for photography, that's where I turn, just because, like I said, all my pictures of the Britney doll are very basic, very easy. But I mean, when it comes to customizing and stuff, like I'm always looking stuff up, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make this work. But I want to backtrack a little bit. It's like the group shot. I can't imagine how. I mean, I think that's why like girl groups all hate each other, right? Because they're all taking pictures in a group,
right.
And like one of them probably doesn't like the way she looks, but the rest of them do. And they're like, okay, well, we're using this photo. And it's interesting that they're still not just like compositing these girls together, right? Like taking separate individual photos, which I think is something you probably could do, but it definitely takes the like natural aspect out of it. And I think even if the photo looks good, you could probably I tried this with the Spice Girls. I was like, okay, this girl looks good from here, like this one does not. So I was like, I'm gonna just do separate photos and then I'll composite them all together, and it looked really good, but I just didn't feel as natural as it could. It looked like an edited photo.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just about like turning one way and turning one a different way, and like sometimes you get it that way. But yeah, it's definitely tricky, especially like when you have like I think I did a group shot the other day. I think I did 5 dolls, and it took me forever because I had to find like 5 outfits first of all that went like together. So I had to dig through like my entire hoard of like doll clothes to try to find like what look do I want to, what's the color I want to portray, what's the look, and then I did like guys and girls. So then I had to figure out like, okay, what are the guys going to wear? What are the girls going to wear? And then once I got it all set up, I was like, I set it up first and then I played around with different positioning and different, like this one's going to sit, this one's going to stand, this one's going to look this way. And then then after that, I was playing around with the lighting and trying to figure out like, how I was going to light the whole thing. So yeah, it took me like a couple hours to do that, but it came out pretty good.
I'm sure it did. And I mean, it's crazy, like how like just the little tilt of like the doll's chin can make like the biggest
Oh
difference.
yeah.
And like I
Yep.
said, I know Britney's angle. So it's like, I
Hmm.
know like her face has to be like
Yeah.
pretty far down to make it look good. Um,
Yeah.
but I can't tell you how
That's,
many like projects I've had to either like completely retake the photos of it because I found one little flaw that I was like, I'm so pissed off that I could not see that when I was doing it. Or what's even worse is like when I'll make a custom doll and I'll think it's like the best thing ever. And then I'll take photos of her and I'll be like, oh my God, this outfit's disgusting. I have to try this again. It's crazy.
yeah.
Just because you do have to be so particular with how, especially if you're, I think the longer you do it, the more particular you get because
Yes.
you
Well,
know
that's,
more.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Ever since from when I started, I'm like in the beginning, I don't remember this taking me so long in the beginning. But if you look at the work from then to now, it's so much more detailed and it's so different from the work that I did very early. Because I was just like learning, I was just learning the format. Like I take all the pictures I take on my phone too. So
Me
like
too.
it's learning how to use the phone and how the phone works different than a camera works. And so there's limitations that you have to work with a phone. So I've kind of built that into my whole like technique is like working with the phone and what I can do with the phone in order to make these images that I create.
How
So,
how many doll photos do you have on your phone?
oh my God, thousands,
Me too.
thousands.
I think at
Yeah.
one point I had something like I just went to LA and I had some time to kick or some time to kill in the airport. So I finally was like, all right, I do not need all of these. But
Yeah, I had to delete some too.
currently I have 89,281 photos on my phone, and that's
Oh, wow.
after deleting a lot. Um,
That's a lot.
because I do all my shit on my phone too because I'm not trying to get a nice camera. Like it's not deep enough for me to do that. And I do feel like we're so lucky nowadays with our phones. Like you can get an amazing photo that could be like print worthy off your phone. So
Right. Yeah. Well, that was kind of the thing in the beginning too. I was like, okay, so I'm going to do this Instagram thing, right? So I'm going to post like one photo every day, and that'll be like the thing that I do. That'll get me inspired, that'll get me creative, that'll get me doing something. So it was going to be like I'm going to do everything on my phone because that's the platform that I have. That's the thing that I have to use. And then I'm going to give myself a goal of like I'm going to do one photo every day and see where it goes from there. And then people started liking the photos, and then that's kind of where it took off. I didn't expect even like a single person to like the photos, but then I kept getting all these people that were, like saying nice things and liking the photos. So I just kept going.
well, of course, and like the thing is like, and another, well, I think a lot of people who aren't maybe in our world don't understand. Like this shit can really become like art,
Yeah.
and I mean, not even just like the doll itself, but like the photograph. Like there's so many pictures of dolls that I've seen on the internet that, or Barbie or whatever, that I'm like, okay, I could literally like get this printed on like a canvas and it would look
Yeah.
like art. And so I was going to ask you how like doll photography, how do you relate it to art in your world? Because I mean, that's a simple question, right? Because it is art.
Yeah. It is art. I mean, it's definitely like relatable, and it's definitely like something that, could my dream one day would be to have my prints like huge on a gallery wall and like have a whole show that's just like doll photos. That would be like my ultimate dream one day. you know, it's just so cool, like to see dolls like in photos that look like mimicking like human life and like, fashion and, all that kind of stuff. So
Of course, I agree. I've made about 1,000 Britney Spears custom dolls, and I
wow.
obviously I keep track of all the ones that I've sold. I have pictures, multiple pictures of each single one, even if it's the same thing that I've done. And I've always thought about like how cool would it be to one day just like get this all printed out and put it in a gallery or something. I feel like people would be into it because I don't know. Me too is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. That would be so dope, I think. Because
Me
because they
too.
truly like the photographs in general are art, but like I think, like I was saying, I think a lot of people don't realize that. But I think that's the one comment I get. Obviously, like the custom dolls are an art piece in themselves, but I do think most of the
Yes.
time when I'm with people and they're looking through my Instagram, like that's a comment I get a lot. It's like, wow, this is kind of like art. And I'm like, yes, that's how this
Of course
goes.
it's art.
You know?
Yeah.
The next question I want to ask you is I feel like in our day and age, obviously, we are two people who have grown up with Barbie, and she's always been a huge part of our life. And we've always been interested in her. And I feel like now, like I was saying earlier, like the kind of like negative stigma on Barbie collecting has really gone down. And I think that I think one of our main topics this season on the Iconic Dollcast is the trendiness of dolls and how all of a sudden it seems like it's very trendy for people to collect Barbie or get on YouTube and unbox Barbies. And it's from people who like maybe were never ever interested in Barbie before. And I always say, like, yeah, that's great. Like, I'm here. The doll community is open and ready to accept anyone who is late to the party. But I do feel like there's kind of become a trendiness aspect to it that has become a little bit ungenuine, and
Mm.
it's kind of hard sometimes as someone who has been with Barbie his whole life to like see people like suddenly be into Barbie in a way that seems kind of superficial. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I haven't really experienced much of that. Um, everything I've kind of, gone through is just kind of been very positive, and I haven't been around too much like of that negativity.
And
So
I wouldn't say it's a negative at all. Like I said,
yeah,
like the doll, like we're here and like I'm so excited for anyone who maybe is getting into dolls later in life. But I do feel like sometimes just especially since the pandemic, of course, but especially since the Barbie movie, like I just feel like there's a lot of people out there now who are, oh, I'm a Barbie collector. And I'm kind of like, are you though? You know? So it's just something I've noticed because, like I said, it's more popular, I guess you could say, to be a Barbie collector now than it was 15 years ago.
yeah. I guess the movie is what's helped that a little bit, and I guess Instagram and YouTube or whatever, all those different platforms have like kind of influenced people to do that kind of thing.
For sure.
So
And like at the end of the day, it's only really helped us as Barbie collectors kind of
yeah,
get away from that negative stigma that people kind of assume with doll collectors that it's kind of a weird hobby. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, but is it
yeah,
really that weird? Like,
yeah.
maybe just because I'm a Barbie collector, I'm like, there's a lot more strange things I could be collecting,
Right.
you know? Going back to your photography, like, what is your goal with like, what do you hope people take away from your doll photography? Is there like, do you ever like, is there a special meaning or like, what is your main goal with your photography?
I don't know. I guess it's just like my form of expression, and I guess like if people like what I do and get something from it, I guess that's something that I would be happy about. Like I said before, like my ultimate goal one day would maybe be to have a gallery show of some sort. Um, Maybe even do like a book. I've had a few people tell me like you should do a book, like you should do a photography book. So that's something that's like in my mind too. Because I don't know like where do I go with all of this,
You could definitely make a nice book with all your photos because they're just so classy. Like I don't know how else to
Thank you.
describe them other than they're very classy and like it would be nice. That would be a nice thing to have on like your coffee table as, for people to look through, but just because the photos are so unique and nice. And um I assume that's what you would say, like, because I mean, your work is really great, and I hope you know that.
Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Okay, good, good. I'm glad you know that because sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's like whatever," and I'm like, "No, no, no! Like you're so legit."
In the beginning, it was kind of like whatever, but now I feel better about it now than I did, in the past. It was kind of just like playing around. Now it's kind of like, how do I like up myself? How do I beat like the best photo that I just did, or what do I do next? So
Do you ever feel pressure with that? Because I know I do.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes I'm like, I got to do like, sometimes I'll like I was posting like every single day for a long time. And then like recently, semi recently, I guess a few months back, I've been getting kind of like burnt out and like like it's very hard to like sit there and like come up with something and take a photo and put the whole thing together. So I still post pretty frequently, but I haven't been posting as frequent as I used to post like way back just because I need a break. I need to recharge my batteries. Sometimes it gets hard to try to figure out like, what am I going to do next? And I've taken so many photos over so many years that, sometimes it gets repetitive, but yeah, definitely taking a break to try to recharge your batteries is something that I need to do often. So
Totally relatable. I feel like I'm also always battling with the algorithm, which is like so annoying because I do think Instagram picks up on stuff like that, which is so weird because I feel it's so funny like
yeah,
how different the worlds of like Instagram and TikTok are when it comes to like visibility and
yeah,
I feel like I'm always trying to outdo myself. Like I try to make every single doll I make better than the last one. I am on my
right.
68th Slave for You doll by Britney Spears.
Wow.
I could not tell you how over it I am,
Yeah,
but with every single one, I'm like, okay, like you cannot let the burnout affect this. Obviously, this is going to someone, so you need to put your best effort in. So sometimes I do have to take a break for a little bit. I just actually took a month off from making Britney dolls, which is the first
oh
time
wow.
I've ever, like I said earlier, I think the longest I'd ever gone before that was like 2 or 3 days without working on
Mhm.
one or working on photos or whatever, working on my content. And it was really nice. And now I'm getting back into it. I'm not going to lie, it's been a little bit difficult because I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Another Slay for You doll. I thought this month off would make this a lot more exciting for me. Um, but I definitely feel like that. And then, like I said, battling with the algorithm is so, I mean, it's
Yeah,
especially for someone who's running a business, it gets really stressful.
yeah,
Um,
I can imagine.
but at least like what you're doing is like fully passion and like you can see it in the photos. But I'm always like, oh,
Yeah,
I have to do better than last time, or
yeah.
this is not gonna go, no one's gonna care, and it gets
Yeah,
kind of
I'm
stressful.
always amazed about like it's always like the photo that you think is crap is like what people love the most. And then it's like the photo you think is the best. You're like, oh man, why didn't that get more likes than like the photo that I thought, didn't like?
It's all about timing, and I don't know what that timing is because yes, I
Yeah.
have had some of them that I'm like, oh, like definitely there's been some that I've been like, this is gonna be a big hit, and it is.
Yeah, and then
But then
no.
like yeah, I'll post like a shitty like in progress photo and it'll get, so much attention, and then I'll post the final product and no one cares. And I'm like, I'm so sick of this shit. Whatever. I don't care. I
Uh,
try not to let that
yeah,
get to my head because I know it's just
yeah,
the
I stopped caring about all that kind of like a while back. I was just like, I'm just gonna do the photo. If it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's something that I felt good about that day and I posted it and it is what it is. So
Yes. So everyone listening, don't let it get to you. The algorithm just sucks and it's whatever.
yeah.
Um, just a couple more things. So do you have a favorite photo you've ever taken of a Barbie or a group of Barbies?
I I have many favorites. I couldn't tell you what they were right now. But yeah, I have a few. I have a few. They're all on my page somewhere.
Love it. And then what is the most recent Barbie you purchased?
I bought a Barbie today, actually.
Nice. Which one?
I just got the ballerina girl,
So pretty. So
the new
pretty.
blonde one. Yeah.
And that's a great. Okay, so what I think that we are getting into a world where that might be our new Barbie, which is it's time for Barbie to get a new face, I think, and it's interesting because I think that is the
Yeah.
one that they might start shifting towards. And I think it's interesting because I don't know, she gives me like major Pamela Anderson vibes. Do you see that?
Yeah, she's very cute. She's very
Yeah.
cute. I have a few of that face. And it's very cute. I like it a lot. But we'll see. Like, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Millie, like, she's never going away ever. But to me,
Yeah.
what's her name?
Poor
Odile.
Millie.
Odile is very like
Yes.
much more like high fashion to me. Like, there's a lot more high fashion
Yes.
opportunities for her. So I'm excited to see what happens with
Yeah.
that. But I'm also not ready to
Yeah.
be in a spot where like that's all we see because she's gonna get tired real quick.
Right. Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
hope
I'm
for
surprised
Mattel,
that we got so many of that face this year too. A lot of
right?
different versions. Yeah.
I think Mattel right now is testing out the waters for certain things. I think they're going to bring cuz what I think should happen, I don't know about you, but I think like I said, we're so like Millie, she's everywhere, right? I think we need to, I hope what Mattel is doing right now is testing out the waters to have more options for Barbie rather
Mm.
than just Millie face molds because that would be nice
Yeah.
if you could keep Millie around if you want. But also give us more options because it gets real tired real quick when that's like the only face mold that they're using for Barbie.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for doing this. Your photos are incredible. I love your work. Please let everyone know where they can find your work on the internet.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation with you. You can find me at welcome to the dollhouse. It's welcome underscore the number 2 underscore the underscore dollhouse. It's super long and annoying, but that's my handle on Instagram. Come check out my work.
Yes, everyone do. It's really great. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this and we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Steve, for coming on the show. I had such a great time chatting with you. Everyone, make sure you go check out Steve over on Instagram. Welcome to the Dollhouse. Again, he's got some just fantastic photos of Barbie that I know anyone listening would absolutely love. Next week, guys, I have a really exciting episode. Do I want to spoil it? I guess if you've made it all the way to the end of this episode, you deserve to know. And I'm actually going to be interviewing the author of Courtney, my newest favorite American Girl doll, Courtney's books, and that is Kellen Hurt. I'm very, very excited. I had so much fun chatting with her. You guys have been talking about it all year. I think that Courtney's books are so incredible, and it was so nice to chat with Kellen and learn all about what went into making and writing those books and how the doll and all that stuff came to be. So I'm very excited for that. Please, if you are enjoying the show, leave me 5 stars or a nice review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps. Follow me on all the things, and I will talk with you guys next time.